Hey guys, what is up? This is going to be my review for Fear the Walking Dead, Season 4, Episode 4, titled Buried. Just before we get into it, I want to let you guys know this might contain some spoilers from Fear the Walking Dead, and I don't think this one will include any Walking Dead spoilers, but just in case, I'm going to throw it out there. So if you're not caught up on The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead, then you should probably click off this video. Okay, to get started, I just wanted to say first off that overall, I really liked this episode. I thought it was really good. And I wanted to discuss some scenes specifically and kind of, what they mean going forward in this series and the rest of this season. So the first thing I want to talk about is obviously the title of the episode because it always means something, and this one's pretty self-explanatory. As you guys know, Nick, rest in peace, died last episode, so buried makes a lot of sense because they buried him this episode. But I mean, you could also relate it to just how Alicia and Strand and Luciana are feeling in the modern day storyline. Okay, I'm just gonna throw out this prediction right now. I was on the phone with my mom the other day, and this was after Nick died, and I was like, Mom, Luciana is gonna be pregnant. But there was no indication of that at all in the first 3 episodes of season 4, or any season for that matter. In the very beginning of this episode, we had Luciana eating breakfast with the squad, and she was not eating her pancake. Now, I get it, okay, a lot of people prefer waffles over pancakes, myself included, but it's dire times, you have to eat, everybody's starving, they're rationing all the food, so yes, she's gonna eat the pancake, even if she's a waffle fan. I'm guessing she's pregnant. And she better name that baby Nick. Lil Nicky. This whole show is and should be about the Clark family, and now we're minus a Clark. So, it would be really cool if Luciana had this baby, and then you have another Clark, and then you're back to 3. Obviously, the loss of Nick is very sad, but it would be a great way to kind of keep him in the show through his child. Then Alicia would have something like that to regain her humanity that she's slowly losing after her brother died. As you guys know, this season is all about switching between the past, the present, and you have the piss yellow past, and then you have the grayscale type of present look desaturation thing going on, and so many people hate that, and I just want to say they kind of have to do that in order to distinguish between the 2 time differences, because people will get confused even if you're like, well, obviously this is in the past. Some people won't get that in their heads. And also the yellow is a more of a warm tone because it's what was, and it was the good times, versus now it was the bad times, and Nick was alive and everything was all dandy. And then the grayscale is more cold and less color, and Alicia is a rock. It's just how their emotions are in both things. So it is important that they have that big distinction in the colors, even if people hate it. And hopefully they'll get rid of that when they're done telling the whole past-present storyline. If they ever finish that this season, it might be the entire season. I would expect it to be the entire season. Maybe next season they'll get rid of the piss yellow, because people are not fans of that. I personally love this whole past-present storyline thing that's going on. And in this episode, I think it worked the best so far. It made a lot of sense, and it was really cool how they were telling the story, each of our characters' individual stories of that day. It's just such a unique way to tell this story. Moving on, Alicia finally gets her weapon, or we see how she gets her weapon, and it is so cool. I was freaking out. It was amazing. I was trying to figure out the first 3 episodes what the heck this weapon was, because it looked so familiar, but I just couldn't place it. And I thought it was a baseball bat at first, but obviously doesn't have that shape of a baseball bat. But yeah, the fact that it came off a Browning machine gun, that was so cool, and I just did not expect that at all, so it was really a nice addition, and then we're gonna see how she kind of builds that weapon into her own. I just love that weapon, and I think that these weapons really define the characters, because previously you had Alicia and her butterfly knife, and everybody knew her weapon as the butterfly knife, and in The Walking Dead, Lucille is her own character on The Walking Dead, so it's really cool to see these weapons. Also with the holes in the flash suppressor, it kind of reminded me of playing wiffle ball, which is really random, but obviously the wiffle balls have all the holes in them, and they're in a baseball stadium, and I just kind of like that connection. Alicia said in one of her interviews that when she swings it, in post, they kind of add a whoosh sound. It kind of gives the weapon itself more character. And again, it kind of relates to that wiffle ball thing, because when you throw a wiffle ball, it goes whoosh. I don't know. I like how it all kind of comes back to the diamond in a way. And continuing on with the episode, Madison goes out to meet with Mel after he waves her down asking for relish, and basically he explains that a wildfire ended up killing his people. And Madison assumes that they chose to stay, but it turns out that Mel convinced them to stay, which ultimately killed them. And Mel kind of comes off as a weird enemy because he seems really chill. He seems like almost like a decent guy. Obviously he's not, but he comes off that way. He's over here offering Madison hot dogs and stuff. But then he admits to her that he basically killed all these people in a way. It kind of tells us a lot about his character and what we can expect from his character. And he murders people indirectly. There's nothing that indicates the fact that he started that wildfire to kill his people. He let those people die knowing they were gonna die. I think the exact same thing is gonna happen with the diamond. If you guys watch the season 4 trailer, there is a scene where you can see what is assumed to be the vultures releasing at least 4 trailers of walkers onto the stadium. And in that same clip, Strand and the group is basically boarding up the inside of the diamond. And you guys know they have an amazing amount of walkers. Like, one location had, 457 or something? Again, that goes back to Mel indirectly killing people with the wildfire, and now with the diamond releasing his walker army onto the people. And then we get back to our present-day core group that we have, and we see them dig up the arsenal of guns, and their plan is to go to where the vultures are now and attack them. And we don't know if Madison is with them or not. It just seems like it's a revenge mission. And then they go and bury Nick. Alicia walks away very abruptly. No, just very cold. Just doesn't seem to have much emotion at this point. And Al is very skeptical to bring them to this location, and they end up convincing her, basically using her own thing against her, which is her story, because she loves her stories and she will do anything to get the story, which eventually I think is going to lead to her death, because it's the only thing she cares about, which makes sense, but at the same time, it's a dangerous thing, because it will lead her anywhere, and she will do anything to get it. That kind of takes me back to last episode. I feel like it was an overlooked scene, but she goes into the van, quote unquote, I said tank. She goes into the van, and she makes sure that she still has her tapes that are labeled The Bog. And I just really want to know what that's about. She has, I think it was over 24 tapes of The Bog, and all these cases were filled with this one topic, this one story. I'm really curious what that is and why it means so much to her. So, like I said, they convince Al to bring them to the vulture location, and when doing that, John recognizes Naomi's bag, and that's when we kind of connect the dots, and he connects the dots that Naomi is Laura. And Alicia basically straight up tells John that Naomi or Laura is dead, prompting him to go out on his own, and Morgan tags along. This show and The Walking Dead has trained us to not believe that somebody is dead until you see their body, so I do not believe that Naomi is dead. I think there's a lot more story to tell, but, you know, they could easily tell that in the past, piss yellow version, and not bring it into the present, so maybe she is dead, I don't know. At least Alicia believes she is. If she is alive, I think that wherever she is, Madison is as well, because Alicia obviously saw something that made her believe that Naomi was dead, or maybe she literally saw her die, we don't know. But if she missaw something, I think that Madison probably got her out of there, whatever the situation was. So if Naomi's alive, she's going to be with Madison, and I think they will definitely be together. And she's a doctor, or at least she claims she is. I don't know how much I trust her because of the whole name thing. I believe that part of her story. And a doctor is so important to have. It makes sense that if her and Madison escaped the diamond, that the vultures would keep them close because everybody needs a doctor. Also, going back to the season 4 trailer, in the trailer you can also see Naomi killing walkers with a shovel. I couldn't really figure out if that was from the past or not. So a lot of other things kind of happened in this episode, but I just wanted to run over a couple of those things that I mentioned. Moving on to next week, episode 5 is called Laura, which will focus on Laura/Naomi and John's relationship and how they know each other and how that all worked out. And just to wrap this up, I want to go on a random tangent about one thing that does not relate to this season at all. But Daniel. Daniel is the Morales of Fear. But if he is alive, how they bring him back, when they bring him back, I don't know. I don't think that this necessarily is the season that he would come back. He just doesn't really have a place in this season. But really, they could bring him back at any time, realistically. He doesn't necessarily have to have a place. It would be really interesting if he was alive, because Strand shot him in the face, and that's gonna be an angry guy. I don't know, I feel like they're two pretty level-headed characters. I think it'd be an interesting interaction. So thank you guys for listening to this review of Fear the Walking Dead, episode 404, titled Buried. Next week I'll be covering episode 5, called Laura. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.